Dearest gentle listeners, you are listening to the Ladies Bridgerton, the talk of the ton. We are your effervescent hosts, your neighborhood-friendly Kiwi, Tash from Middle-earth, New Zealand.
I'm Patty, Regency romance enthusiast, whose current chapter of her story takes place in Ohio.
Settle down onto your favorite settee as we delve into the lives of the elite and illustrious ladies, lords, and royalty of the ton. This Bridgerton podcast is two friends talking romance, symbolism, Easter eggs, and deep diving into the connections of our favorite characters. This podcast covers both book and TV series and therefore will contain spoilers.
Today, dear listeners, we celebrate the rom-com greatness and the symbolism of the Willow Tree. If we manage to say all the things, we may make it to Stowell House and poor Colin watching his Penelope give her smiles away to another man. The Willow Tree is huge and has so much packed into such a small scene. This was one of my favorites from my first watch. I cannot wait to discuss the importance of body language and facial expression to read the context.
I can all but promise you, I mean, I know that I've put the Willow Tree and Stowell House into today's episode, but with the amount of research that I did last night, and I think the amount of research that you've done last night, like basically I could probably just do an entire episode on the symbolism of willow trees through the different, the Greeks, the Celtics, the English, the Indians. Like there is so much symbolism.
Yeah. I got two tabs pulled up to reference from right before.
Well, I've put mine.
We got on today.
I'm not sure if you noticed, but I sent you my notes and I've put anything that I've just copied and pasted into italics for us. And as our listeners can probably hear, I am all but healed from my nasty cough. It still happens morning and night. My son still has it, but thankfully after the hospital visit and the steroids, he's all better. My mum went into hospital for it. It's a really, really nasty bug. So thank you for all those who have put up with listening to my croaky voice for the last few weeks, but it is thankfully back to normal now. And additionally, my renovations that we were doing to my house, the retrofitting of double glazing to my house is all done. So I have my computer back again, which means that our quality is going to be much improved from the music app where we had to record from my phone as I had my whole house packed up. So thank you for those who have stayed true to us and put up with the quality being a bit poorer for the last few weeks. Now we must make haste into today's episode. I want to start out not even actually at the Willow Tree because I want to start before that. Now, I know that this seems like a side story, but the side story actually plays into the main story of this one, so I do want to discuss it here. The Queen and Lady D are discussing suitors for Fran, and Lady D suggests Lord Dibling, and the Queen says he is a bore. But as she says that, Lady Whistledown is reading through. And though other young ladies may scramble for Miss Francesca's leftovers, they would be remiss to remember the higher one flies, the further one has to fall. Now, I think this was an absolute foreshadowing moment of the fact that Penelope was going to be going after Miss Francesca's leftovers, as in Lord Dibling, who they had just been discussing his card. And I think it is also foreshadowing the balloon scene that we're going to have later in this episode. The higher one has to rise in the balloon, the further it has to fall. And I think it also is kind of playing into the fact that this wasn't going to be a love match. It wasn't going to be a true connection, which, I mean, the Polin fans knew this was a Polin-centric season. We knew Polin was endgame, but we weren't sure how far they were going to lead us along in the meantime after the whole season 2 debacle of getting all the way to the altar. They really strung us along that one.
Well, and I think there's a little symbolism there too, in terms of, the higher one flies, the further they have to fall, because like Colin's riding high on coming off of that kiss and figuring out like, this is a thing, this is gonna happen, this is endgame, this is, like
he's in the balloon,
he's so much
he's amongst the ducks in the sky, he's flying with them.
Oh, he's straight up. Who was it? Daedalus? Is that the one in Greek mythology that made the wings and tried to fly?
No. I know his name so well. Why is it?
Or is Daedalus his dad?
No, yes, that's just flew too high. God damn it, the name is right there.
I'm looking it up.
Icarus? Icarus.
Icarus.
Icarus. Thank you,
Icarus.
Icarus.
Yeah. But and
I
his
knew
dad
the
is
second that I
ridiculous.
started typing, it would come to my mind. I just needed something to
Right.
prompt it. And the second that I
It's in a
typed,
song too.
the second
I
that I
should have
went to
known
go
that.
type flew too close to the sun, my brain was like, Icarus, there we go.
Yeah.
Yes, Icarus flew too close to the sun. And
Yeah,
I
son of
and
Daedalus. So Daedalus in my brain was not
yeah.
too far off.
I knew what you were getting at, but then it
Yeah.
threw my brain off. Yeah, I think because we all know that Penelope is his sunshine, and
Mm.
I think yeah, he flew too close.
Got a little too close.
With that is
A little
yeah.
too close.
Well, we all know that he didn't use any protection.
Well,
Definitely got a little
I
too
was going
close.
for the genie from Aladdin. A little too close.
I do love Aladdin.
But
So
I just want to point out too that she tosses Lord Debling because he's boring,
yes,
but she barely
he's a
tosses
bore.
him.
Toss it
And
like you
she
mean it.
talks about her brother, and the queen's like, "Do you want me to banish him?" And she's like, "No, I'll deal with it." But then she picks up another card and she flings that one like, we'll just throw it out of our minds. Do you know who that card is?
No, I didn't look.
Lord Cho, who ends up with Emma Kenworthy and
Because
is not even
Lord
anywhere around.
wasn't he one of the ones who ignored her after the whole season 2 debacle when they're out promenading? He gave her the cut. So she's like, "You're gonna cut me, I'm gonna cut you, buddy." In season 2, after the whole
Francesca was not there in season 2. She was at Aunt Winnie's.
No. He gave Lady Danbury the cut when they were out promenading, and so she's like, "You're gonna cut me?
Yes.
I'm gonna cut you, bitch."
Right.
She got her comeuppance.
She didn't even look at the card. She didn't even look at who was on it. I like paused it and looked who was on it. And we know, like, based on what Lady Whistledown says, you know, women are going to go after Francesca's cast-offs. And she didn't know Debling was a contender, and she didn't know Lord Cho was a contender, but they both get cast off. And Debling gets, you know, I mean, he ends up doing the rejecting, but he gets rejected. He's not in game, but Cho ends up with Emma Kenworthy. Well, and I think that's a little piece of foreshadowing there.
What I found interesting, actually, and this kind of probably should be in side stories, but it's on my mind and I've been thinking about it all morning. What is funny is the Queen rejects Debling because he is a bore, because he is too interested in his interests. Yet Francesca is a diamond because she's too interested in her interests. You have to have the right
and here's
interests.
the thing. Here's the thing, because the Queen is so female empowerment. I mean, remember Queen Charlotte,
she's very
how
musically
she talked
inclined.
But and she's not herself a fan of nature.
No.
So like George made her a fan of the stars.
Well, he was Farmer George, and farming is nature.
Yes, but what did she do when he got really sick and the garden went to death? They were like, "Do you want us to replant?" And she's like, "No, don't do it.
Rip it out.
Rip it out. So I think she still has
nature reminds her of him and where he went to get healthy, and so I think she resents it. So I know that's probably a side stories thing, but I was like, I want to touch on it before we get into the Willow Tree. But I also
think that because Debling is a man, Debling can be like that, and she doesn't want someone like that for Francesca, because that's kind of how George is.
Yeah.
Like, George is very much into his stuff, and because of his mental illness, he's even more into his special interests.
Yeah.
So she does not want that for her diamond, you know.
Why does even just the term like fun, like even just thinking of that series, God, they did a good job of it, because like even just thinking of it makes my heart feel heavy with like pain for her, that she had such a great love and she still has it, but it's not there. You know, like to have it right at your fingertips and not have it is just more painful than losing him.
Okay, so season 4 theory, because I rewatched Queen Charlotte.
I don't,
and I think that with Benedict's season and how close we got to see the relationship of Brimsley and the Queen in season 3, because we now saw Queen Charlotte and he's always there for her. I think we're going to figure out what happened to Reynolds in season 4. I think that's going to be a thing. So we're going to find out more.
Want it. And because they have seen filmed, like, so they have specifically filmed, and they cut this from season 2, I believe. They have filmed Reynolds and Brimsley in present tense walking down a hallway and just passing by each other without acknowledging each other, but like it's a moment, but they don't acknowledge each other. So that was to tell us that Reynolds is still alive, but they couldn't go into the whole
I think.
storyline. Chris Van Dusen wanted to stay true to the time of it is illegal. It is illegal. Sodomy is illegal
Mhm.
back then. It is a hangable offense. So he was staying true to the timeline of
Mhm.
how gay couples or lovers or people who were in
Mhm.
love, shall I say, how they could comport themselves. And because Reynolds and Brimsley, when the Queen and King and Queen were together, they could be together because they were in close proximity, that it wasn't suspicious. But now that they are
Yeah.
separated by Q and the palace,
Mhm.
they can't be together.
And the reason we know that Reynolds is still alive and the reason we know that Reynolds is still close is because in Queen Charlotte, when she's having that conversation with him of, do you have a family, Brimsley? Were you
Mm.
never married? He
I hated
says,
that.
how could I have found someone here? He said, and he said it with a little bit of snark. He's
Mm.
like, everyone here is in service to the king, loves the king. And she goes, well, that's not true. You care for me. And he's like, I will always be loyal to you, because he's supposed to be, but everyone else
Yeah.
is there for the king. And we also have where she wants to go and tell the king about the new heir. She tells Brimsley, no, Brimsley, I got this. I can handle this myself. I can handle him myself. So she doesn't let Brimsley go where he
Mm.
could have seen Reynolds, because she doesn't realize they had a romance because it was illegal.
I truly believe that if Brimsley had ever confided in her, that she would have helped him to keep it on the down low. I don't think she could have ever changed any rules, because the state is still higher than her religion. Religious reasoning was still higher than her power back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
In
the
the power,
church was.
the church was the ultimate power, and realistically still is in a lot of regards. But we need to gallop back to our point, because I think we do
Well,
have to do. I would love to do a Brimsley and Reynolds sides, bonus app at some point. But for today,
and I'm just going to say, I think because I think Benedict is going to remind her of George, and it's going to get her in her feels. And
yeah.
Benedict is going to be fluid. And I think something about that gets out or gets found out. And the queen has to deal with that. And now, mind you, she's already allowed a woman to have a paying job,
Mm.
which was unheard of too. So I think she's like,
I
if
don't
you
think he's
move
gonna
out of
die
the
though.
city, I don't know.
I wish for her sake that he would, because I think she needs that final closure. I think she needs to be able to fully grieve him, because she's been grieving him for
Yeah.
so long, but she gets snippets of him sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's not fair to her. But at the same time, I don't think they will kill him off, because otherwise they may as well just kill the queen off. The queen was supposed to die off
Her
in
son
probably
would take over.
her son would have to take over, and I don't think that she would still be in the same capacity as Dowager Queen of going to the events and sitting on the podium and having all those interactions that she has now. It wouldn't really make sense. So I don't think that they're going to kill him off, even though for my own heart, for her heart, I wish they would.
Yeah. So
Let's go.
let me get this thought. Let me
Yeah.
get this thought out of my head, Miss Tosh.
Yeah.
So I think something comes out about Benedict and his fluidity, and she has to make a decision. And I think Brimsley, who we already know, has kind of a thing for the Bridgertons too, because he's the one who said about Francesca, like, you have good luck with Bridgertons, unless he and Danbury are working together. Who knows? But anyways, we know he has a thing. So I think he comes forward and he explains himself and maybe reveals Reynolds and lets her know, like, he's had this love, but he chose her and he chose what was right, like what was lawful over his love. And gives her, like, because she does, how he's her work husband. So
Yeah.
that gives her, some perspective with someone that she cares for, to be able to help make this whatever decision. And I think them ending up not living in society is not going to be like the book. I think she's going to say, you can go live in the country and I'm not going to do anything about
I
that.
thought I heard my mom was like,
Hoping for coffee.
I won. But yes. Don't call me out like that.
My mom is sick and coughing to death, but she brought me a coffee. Yay, mom.
Coffee makes
Because
everything
moms
better.
would.
My happiness would
Moms
make my
would.
mom, my coffeeness,
Coffeeness.
coffeeness makes me feel better. And when I'm better, it makes my mom feel better, because she loves me so much. That's how it works.
Okay,
I'm
let's
not
go to the willow.
okay. The
Let's go
willow.
to the willow.
Okay, so I think it was you that actually pointed this out, and I don't know why. I was always just so focused on Penelope getting to Colin, and I was like looking around for Colin that I didn't pay attention. So I'm really glad that I've given myself a really big break between watching again and actually sitting and watching and not having it on in the background whilst doing other things, but not actually paying attention to the nuance because you were very, very right that as Penelope and Ray, well, Ray is tracking behind her, but they're promenading through, is it Vauxhall? Rodham Road Park?
Yeah, it's whatever park.
Whatever park. Yeah, they're promenading through the park and Ray's walking behind and every one of the passerbyers are turning and staring and actively talking about her to the point where she can actually hear what they're saying. They are not trying to be subtle or hide their intentions. Their intention is very much to hurt her with their judgments, from judging her out loud. And I love that Ray, like, she is absolutely like giving them distasteful looks, like, how dare you speak about my miss?
She is ride or die, that girl.
She is.
She really became like one of my favorite characters with hardly any lines. Like that actress we stand on the wheel.
Ray. Yeah, we stand on the wheel, gal.
She is gold. That's the servant I would want if I was in Region.
Yes. So I love that Penelope is like, all right, there are eyes on me everywhere. Everyone is talking about me. I'm gonna go into this willow tree. And I love how she just like walks under it and Colin has to like
well, and that's another thing with their height, which is awesome. But I like that. Like she turns around and because she sees that people are talking about her.
Yeah.
And it makes her turn around. So they're bringing up like, oh, he's following her, right? Like, yes. I mean, that's not what the thing says. But that's the impression I got. That they're whispering about the fact that he's following her. And then she sees him. And she shoots under the willow tree.
It gives them like a fair amount of privacy under there.
Yeah, that is one huge willow tree.
Yeah, I have an interesting history with willow trees. It was the only car accident I've ever had. Was my parents' house is along a river and we used to have two giant willow trees in front of the house on either side, but it would block all the sun. So we ended up chopping them down because it was ripping up the driveways and damaging the property and that kind of thing.
Their roots are strong and
very deep. But we used to have these pavers that like cut around them, and I was learning to drive. And you used to have to like make like a real zigzaggy kind of turn to get out. And I was literally just learning how to drive. And my tire went just slightly into the little pavers dip. And my mum goes, just accelerate. So I did. But she didn't say accelerate while still turning the wheel. I mean, it's on her for not giving clear instructions.
Direct instructions, yeah.
So I accelerated on the trajectory that I currently was on and smashed off her wing mirror.
Oh my goodness.
And my dad was like, well, that's on you, Val. Like, you did not give her clear instructions. So it was very much the Whomping Willow. Whomped me good.
Yep.
So let's talk Willow symbolism before we get into unpacking the scene.
The scene itself, please.
I think in order to understand the scene, we want to talk through all of the symbolism because oh my God, like I literally have like 2 pages of symbolism just tree. So for most, I think the most common symbolism when you look up a willow tree represents adaptability and flexibility and protection. And in some meanings, it also symbolizes mourning. But one part that I found quite interesting, this part here, the willow tree's limbs are particularly limber and can bend and withstand the strongest of winds and bad weather without snapping. Therefore, many associate it with people's abilities to overcome hardship and emotional struggles. The tree in the starting credits of Bridgerton in episode, is it 6 or 7, Patty?
It's episode 5 and episode 7.
Yes.
That it's stormy.
So in 2 of the opening credits of Bridgerton, we get a really, really, where we usually have the Bridgerton tree standing strong and unshakable, unmovable, with all its flowers blooming in a beautiful sunny setting. In 2 of the episodes, instead, it is like gale force winds, blustery, dark grey, and that tree is what represents the Bridgerton family. So I found it quite interesting. Patty thinks a little bit differently, but for me, I think that the willow tree more represents the Featherington family family because although they're not as pretty as the Bridgerton tree, just another pretty Bridgerton, they are strong and flexible and adaptable because look at Portia Featherington as the head of that family. She is the matriarch of that family. She is absolutely adaptable. She does whatever she has to do in order to protect her family. She has to go around the bounds of society to protect her family. And now she doesn't offer a lot of emotional protection, but they are strong and their roots are deep, and she will do whatever it takes in order to protect her girls. Absolutely no matter. So as much as I don't always appreciate her parenting methods as far as emotional raising of those children have gone, she absolutely has protected those girls from society's like cruelness in some regards, just not her own cruelness.
And I'm not saying that your attachment of this symbolism is incorrect. I think it very much fits there. If there was a tree that represented them, for sure. I mean, my only issue with it being a Featherington tree is the fact that I don't think their roots are all that deep. I think they're relatively new to the game, new to the ton. In terms
deep,
of
I don't mean
old
deep
money,
roots
new money,
as in like strong family, like of many generations of strong family. I mean,
right?
Just those four girls, you know, Portia, Prudence, Penelope, which other
Philippa.
Philippa. It throws me off because it's a different p sound.
It's a
F. Yeah, I think it's just those four girls, and obviously now the next generation as well. But I think Portia is the one who's setting down the roots for that family.
Yeah, I think she's trying. My take on that symbolism is because the roots are so deep and it has such a strong foundation, that's what allows the tree to weather the storms, to weather the hard times, to weather. So this is a symbol of if you have a strong foundation, you will not break. You will bend. You have to bend. In a relationship, you have to bend and compromise for that relationship to work. And I think that this tree symbolizes Colin and Penelope so much because they have that foundation of friendship, and everything they go through in the second half, and even from this scene, actually from this scene where he wants to tell her how he feels and she realizes something's different with him. I think we'll get into that when we talk about the facial expressions and everything. She realizes something's different, but she's awkward and nervous, and she's just trying to get out of Dodge because she's like, this chapter's over, gotta go. But I think that they're now at that point. From this point forward, they are bending with each other, bending around each other, bending for each other, to get to the point they do where they are together. And then the whole second half is them together, having their strong foundation, weathering the storms, weathering the trials, weathering the tribulations, and still coming out strong in the end.
I'm doubling down on my Featherington equals the Willow Tree because the Dogwood tree is the Bridgerton tree from the opening credits, is a pink dogwood tree, which symbolizes life. So we've got morning and life, and it symbolizes the starting of new, because every time obviously dogwood tree blooms spring, and indicating the end of winter or the end of death and the beginning of new life. It also represents joy and beauty that a new life or rebirth bring. And I think together, like the amalgamation of those two families.
Also in one of the things, I don't know how I ended up
Greek. There's a bunch of, I think it's in Celtic and in ancient, not ancient
because the willow tree, because you can take a branch and plant it, evil. And it'll grow a new tree. Yes. The willow tree represent life and new birth. Yes. And their moment under the willow tree is what leads them to having little Lord Featherington. Yeah. So
yes. So
I find that interesting though, that both the dogwood and the willow tree both are like life and rebirth and new birth of some sort. I think that's pretty cool.
I think it's like the blending of these two families together. And it also ties into the moon. And obviously the moon is such a big part of this season. So willows have been associated with the moon, which also goes through the phases of transformation throughout the month. Obviously, Penelope has been going through a big transformation. This association comes from the tree's love for water and the moon's effect on the tides, because obviously willow trees are usually around watery things, and the roots are always searching out
they
water.
Actually plant them they plant them near rivers, big rivers and stuff like that, because the root systems will grow deep and the roots get really thick, and it can actually help prevent flooding
yes,
when it rains a lot.
My parents lived on a river that is filled with willow trees, but it's still flooded. Well, yeah. But I do love willow trees.
Oh, and the
I think
willow
they're
tree is
beautiful.
also
Yes.
fertility and new life. So yeah,
So
babies.
willow in Greek mythology, willows appear in several Greek myths and are often associated with witchcraft and magic. The sorceress Hecate was the goddess of the moon and the willow tree, and the priestess of the goddess Hellas used willow in their magic. Orpheus took willow branches to the underworld for protection, as the willow was holy for, to poets, which I think that's actually, I have to go back and reread. Is it Eloise's book? And she goes and visits Benedict and his son dying. And obviously, because Sir Philip is a botanist, he knows exactly what herbal remedies to go and get to save their
Willow
son's
bark is
life.
used in a lot of remedies.
And
Yeah.
I wonder whether it was actually willow bark, because willow bark was used as a natural remedy for colds and flus, and you chewed on it and it had this medicinal product. And that's why they also associated it as being a spiritual protector, because it had this healing effect. So then that they thought, oh, well, maybe it can protect our spirits as well. So it became this whole thing. That was my last bit on the symbolism
Well,
of willow trees.
well, I think it's cool too. Like in I can't pronounce the Celtic word, but it's actually derived from their word for the willow tree.
Mm-hmm.
But it means this word. It's Saille. So I'm not sure how it's pronounced. So I'm not even
Sorry,
gonna
can
try.
you pronounce it again? Sorry, spell it.
I spelled it Saille, but it's
Sail?
in Celtic. Yeah.
Sail?
So it could be like Siley, because sometimes
Yeah.
they have the E at
Yeah.
the end. I don't
Yeah.
know. But it means a sudden outburst of action, expression, or emotion, which sounds to me like a little bit of chaos, Colin. And the fact that they're under this tree, just both of them trying with all of their might to keep their real feelings inside until the other person says something. If you really watch their facial expressions going, I mean, this is rom-com gold, because it is so deliciously awkward that you just watch their facial expressions. It's like they are saying so much different than what is actually coming out of their mouths on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much.
So, and I just want to point out, I
communicators.
don't remember if it was on YouTube, if it was Sammy Bates, or if it was on TikTok, but somebody did a whole a whole video about the willow representing mourning and grieving, and in relationships, it's being in your feels, but not expressing your own feelings. And it was important that Penelope walked under the tree first because she had feelings first. I said that in air quotes, guys. And then he follows her. And then at the end of that interaction, he's like, well, I will go. And she's like, no, I will go. And she leaves. No, I'm just talking about, this is the part about this other symbolism. Yes. So she leaves and has left him to deal with his feelings that are not expressed. And I know I'm butchering it. It's probably Sammy Bates. Look her up on YouTube. But I saw it. I think I saw something about it on TikTok too. But the willow tree itself symbolizes grieving relationships and stuff, and it's the fact that she leaves it is she is done with their chapter. She believes she's putting him in her past, and she needs to move towards her future.
Bridgerton's willow tree scene, Anatomy of a Scene by Sammy Bates, is the video. I haven't actually watched it.
I don't think I've watched that one though. I saw something on TikTok, but okay. I mean, Sammy Bates really does break stuff down, so she probably did. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was very, very well thought out in regards to it struck me. I don't remember. I thought I'd shared it in Tangent Queens, but I was not about to scroll back and try and find it.
Yeah, so I very much think that the willow tree is also massively representing Penelope finding, not that she does entirely, but I think in this moment she thinks, I'm letting go of the love that I have for Colin. I will still hold that in a special place in my heart forever, but it's unrealistic, and I have to be realistic about my prospects and go and get serious, because I can never have anything more than what I had with Colin. I will hold on to that moment forever, but I'm letting it go because it can never eventuate. And so I think this was very much a moment of mourning and saying goodbye and closing a chapter for her, or at least she believed. Colin thought he was opening a chapter, and she was like, all right. Nice to see you.
He thought,
bye.
And now, okay, so we're going to get into this scene because I need to fangirl for a minute about the writing The writing in this scene is fantastic. And this is one of the reshoots because we have the wig. We know that. So props to whoever really wrote this scene and really thought it out, and allowing the both of them to play to their strengths, their comedic timing, because Bridget Jones is literally my favorite rom-com. Like, it is comfort food to me. I can sit down on a rainy Sunday, like, what am I going to watch with my, snacks, my salty snack and my sweet snack and whatever? Like, what am I going to watch? And if Bridget Jones shows up at all, I'm watching Bridget Jones. I love Bridget Jones' Diary so much. And he is so Hugh Grant, not so much from Bridget Jones. He's more Notting Hill Hugh Grant, or like Englishman that went up a hill, came down a mountain, 4 weddings and a funeral. That awkward, like, I'm cute, but he's Edward Ferrars, Hugh Grant from Sense and Sensibility. He's that whole, like, I'm cute, but I'm awkward, and I don't know how to talk to people, and I'm just so nervous all the time. Like, he was Hugh Grant vibes the whole time, and she is so nervous. Like, she just gives me Bridget Jones vibes. Like, I want and I know she's in her 30s, late 30s, but I want a Bridget Jones, the college years, so much, with her as young Bridget Jones. Because when we first meet Bridget Jones, she's 32 going on 33. She has her 33rd birthday in the first movie. I want to see her chaotic self in college. I want to see her meet Shazzer. I want to see her meet her group of friends. Can we put it out into the world?
Nicola as Bridget Jones in college.
Yes.
Bridget Jones. Isn't Renee Zellweger also like a teeny tiny human being?
Yeah.
Nay.
It has to happen. I have to have it. I have to have Nicola Coughlan as...
Oh no, she's taller than me. She's 1.63 meters, so that's like 5'4", 5'3", 5'4", 5.
And what's Nicola? 5'1"?
5.
It wouldn't be too far off.
She's 5 nothing, I think.
Because I'm between 5'6" and 5'7".
She is, I think, 150 centimeters, which is 4'9". I'm sure she's 5 foot. Her and
they're like a foot off. Yeah, she's like 5 foot 5'1".
Yeah, because her
just
and Darren Hart
right?
are both like 4'9", 5 foot.
They're like teeny.
Pocket sized queens.
But Luke Newton is like, they joke all the time about how he's almost 6 foot tall.
Yeah. No. Luke Newton is 6'1", but I think they
6'1", but they joke that he's almost...
They say 6'1", give or take an inch.
Well, it's the hair. I tell my son all the time, because depending on and Luke's hair is way more floofy and buoyant, we'll say. My son can go and they do his height and he's right at 6'1". But if he goes and he hasn't had a haircut, they'll say he's 6'1.5". But it's because his hair is so thick that it doesn't press down. It's the hair, man. I'm saying it's the hair.
All right. Seeing as we're talking aesthetics, let's talk Penelope's dress. It is.
I didn't even get to talk about it being a rom-com, but fine. We'll talk clothes and then I'll go back.
No. But we'll go back to rom-com and then we'll get on to the dress.
Because this is going to be a while. This is the first scene. I'm
putting it out there, guys. We're not getting past the Willow Tree. It might be a 2-part of Willow Tree at this point.
The first scene, I heart-handed. This is the best scene of the first half. It is definitely the best scene of episode 3, because I'm not a fan of the balloon scene, except for the candy shop, the sweet shop. This scene is so well crafted. It is so rom-com. It is so awkward. And just watch. Seriously, I almost want to tell you to turn off the sound. Don't focus on what they're saying and just watch their facial expressions. Because when she says, we cannot continue our lessons, and mind you, Colin is always up in her space. He's always right up in her personal space. They're standing apart like it's COVID. Like, they were told 6 feet apart. Like, he's afraid to get near her. He's afraid to get his body near hers. He's like, I don't trust myself. I've got to be 6 feet back. And then she goes, we cannot continue our lessons. He smiles. He's like, ooh, I agree. Like, he's just so excited they're on the same page. He thinks this is going a certain way. And then
I thought you're talking rom-com here, and you're skipping to the bottom of my notes here, woman.
But I am. Like, it's this whole thing is because because that's the beauty of a really good rom-com, is the fact that the feelings usually do not get disclosed until the end, but there's always that one scene where both parties have feelings and both parties are trying to get the other person to say their feelings first because they don't want to put their heart out there and have it stomped on. They don't want to be the fool. So this was just, it was so comedy gold. It just, he's like, well, wait, but just so I'm clear. And she's like, oh, no, that'll never happen again. And he's like, oh, okay, great. And like the whole time where he's, it's like, I'm sorry I didn't make it to see you earlier. She goes, oh no, that's the best thing. Is it? It is. Like, just he is letting her lead the conversation because he's afraid of saying anything. She's more than willing to jump in and lead the conversation because she is afraid of herself saying anything. Especially if he asks her a direct question because she's so embarrassed. And neither one of them get out what they want to say at all. And like where he's like, I apologize. And she's like, no, I apologize. And he's like, don't apologize, because he loved that moment. Like, don't turn it in. And for me, like in the book, how her saying thank you was the worst thing she could say because it ruined the whole moment and it made it seem like she was begging. And because he had wanted to kiss her, it wasn't like that for him. And it totally angered him. And they had their snippy moment where he had to go ask forgiveness later.
All right.
Okay. So
is it going? Yeah.
Okay. Finish my thought. Mm-hmm. So I think in this moment, her apologizing is kind of like the thank you from the book, because her apologizing officially makes it something they did was wrong. And neither one of them are wrong. He doesn't feel like that at all. He was apologizing initially because he didn't come and see her because he wanted to come and see her. He just had to, work out how that was going to work. Because I really do believe that he believes Portia is an obstacle. But it was just so perfectly. I mean, comedy has a timing to it. Like, it's like a verbal dance. And this scene was so perfectly done. And just the faces, like one of my favorite lines, and it's not even one of the romantic ones, but where she's like, I've embarrassed myself and my family. And if we continue, I'll embarrass your family, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, so sensible, like perfect delivery.
I've got so much to say on all these bits.
Well, and I'm just going on the timing of it.
Mm-hmm.
And their facial expressions, because the main ones is especially like, you can't look at what they're saying. What they're saying is well crafted, but that is not the true communication of the scene. No. And that's what makes this scene so awesome. Like when she says, we need to distance ourselves for now. And he's like, yes, of course. His face is not saying yes, of course. No. His face is, he's looking around. His eyes are darting. He's looking at his Post-its and his pieces of yarn. He's trying to figure out where he gets.
When it starts out, so like Penelope's in, he comes under the tree and they approach each other, and it's immediately, like we were kind of saying in the previous episode at the ball, they are no longer just two friends chit-chatting, catching up. It's nervous energy. It's new love energy. It's I'm unsure how you feel energy. It's we've had a connection and we're both feeling awkward about it now because we both think it's one-sided. We both think it's one-sided. And they have nervous teenage first love, gorgeous energy going on. And Penelope says,
and honestly, if just one of them would have said something.
Good day. It is good to see you. And he stumbles back at the words good to see you, because it is like in his mind, like he actually like goes back, if you look at it, because he is thinking about that kiss, but more specifically, he is thinking about the fact that he has already seen her today. He has been seeing her in his dreams. So when she says it is good to see you, he's like, I've been with you the whole time.
Like, a minute. Oh yeah, this is not my dream. I am awake here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then 6 feet back, 6 feet back.
Yes. And then that's when he apologizes for not coming to see her earlier. And, she says, it is better that you did not. And then that's when Colin, that is when this divide between them starts happening, where he realizes, oh, okay, we're not on the same page. And
and I think it really hits him really when she says we can't continue our lessons, and he's like, ooh, I agree.
The line where she starts, I've embarrassed your family. I've embarrassed my family. If I were to continue, I would embarrass your family too. She is saying the words without any intent behind them. She is doing a Colin in this moment where she is reciting something she has said in her head 100 times of, I'm going to see Colin. This is what I'm going to say. This is how it's going to play out, and it's going to be done. I need to get these words out so it can be done, and I can be sensible, and I can move on, and I can be sensible about my prospects.
And the best part is when she talks about her prospects, watch his face when she says, which have gone from little to even less. He like, is shocked. He's like,
right here.
He's literally like,
all 6'1" of me.
Fuck. Yes, literally like, fuck, across the bottom of the screen. Like, he's like, oh shit. Like, he's just flabbergasted. Like, are you kidding me?
And
like
this moment, he burrows, like when she says, it may be best to keep our distance for now, and he agrees, but his face is like, wait, what am I agreeing to? Like, his whole face burrows down, the thought lines appear, and he's like,
his eyes are darting. He is looking at his plan.
What is happening right now? I don't. We kissed. I kissed her. She kissed me. We connected.
Yeah.
What is
He's like,
happening?
How did we get here? How did we get here?
Like, his poor brain. He is not obtuse. He is just used. I mean, to be fair.
And he's not obtuse. He is operating under a belief system that, I mean, I think he's known because he's had feelings for her. I'm going by canon. He's had feelings for her. He knew she had feelings for him. And he thought that kiss was like what woke her up.
Yes.
Like, there's no way she can deny it. So, like, happily ever after, because he's a lot like Daphne, and he believes that, romance is a fairy tale. That's why he struggles in the second half, because once they're happily ever after, everything's got to be great, So, like, he thinks this is the moment that they get together and they figure their stuff out, and they're going to walk out from under that willow tree engaged. He's going to walk her home. He's going to tell his mom, and it's perfect for him because he wanted to catch her out because he didn't want to have to deal with her mother. So, I mean, he's got it all in his head how this is going to go, but because Colin is who he is and he wants the other person to be happy, he wants to do what the other person wants in general, he lets her control the whole thing.
Well, and I will get up to that part as well, but there was a few other facial expressions that I wanted to dive into first. When she starts talking about prospects, and I must be serious about my prospects, his lips start to actually, like, he multiple times, like, he tries to form words, but the words just will not come to him because he's trying to figure out how to say, I'm right here. Do you need to go to Specsavers? I'm right here.
Yeah.
Wait, do you guys have Specsavers?
It's like,
I think the UK does.
No, we don't have anything called Specsavers. We have like America's Best, 2 pairs of glasses for $69.95 if you get plastic frames. And
that's Specsavers, except it's not plastic frames. That might have.
You have to get plastic frames and plastic lenses. If you get anything else, like 2 pair for $69.99 for my ex-husband became 2 pair for $485.
That's a steal. I just paid $800 because
it's not a steal when you're
blind and you need specialty glasses and you've got to go to the ultimate thinning because your lenses are so thick that if you did not, they would literally they would be sagging more than than 5 breastfed later.
My prescription is so bad. When I got charity glasses once, they would not do polycarbonate, and they were so thick. They were like the bottoms of Coke glass bottles. Like, they were so thick.
He was like, you can't not like that. I need to gallop back to my point because this is really going to be a big episode. Apologies. But he is very confused as to how Penelope's eyesight is going because he's standing right there and she is just looking straight through him. He's like, what? Well,
and that's the beauty. This is a mirror moment.
Did I die? Am I a ghost? I am right
talking.
Here.
And this plays into my other thing.
Okay,
go. So this is a mirror moment. I do not believe the carriage scene where she says, but Colin, we are friends, is his season 2. You are Penn, you are my friend, you do not count. That was not his scene. This is his scene. And I'll tell you why. Because of the prospects line where she says, my prospects now eat little or even less. The look on his face is like, what are you saying? And like how you just described it. Like he is like, I'm right here. Why can't you see me? That was her in season 2. She's like, but I am a woman. It's that mirror of that scene is the Willow scene. The Willow scene is season 2 in that soiree at Lady Danbury's house. This is the reverse of it.
Goes perfectly along with, can't you see that I'm the one that understands you, been here all along? Why can't you see you belong with me? Taylor Swift, which is plays.
Well, right. But that, as I said, the first half of season 3 is mirror reversing everything that Penelope went through in seasons 1 and season 2 with Colin. In her perspective, not seeing her, we are seeing Colin go through it as well. And it's really just insecurity because they do see you. They do want to be with you. You're just too afraid to say the words out loud. And if they would have just communicated anything, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have Debling, all that mess. But this is the scene. This is the reversal of the soiree at Lady Danbury's house. It's the exact reversal. It's him standing there going, I'm trying to talk to you like a suitor. I'm apologizing for not showing up to your house. I agree with you. Look at how happy I am that we are not continuing the lessons because you graduated. Yay!
You're going to graduate too. Why?
You're just not getting it. Like, why aren't you getting it? Like, I'm right here. And she was doing the same thing in season 2. This is that moment. This is Colin's we're just friends, except it was
like they
I
are
gotta think about my prospects
to each other, but in different seasons. Can't you see that? So why can't you?
And I think it's important too. We never see her really sitting in the drawing room window in season 3 at all. But we see him looking out his window across to her in this season after Whistledown was written. So, and he so many times just proves that he knows she always sat out looking out that window for him at him.
Have been
and I believe it's in his journals.
This dance of love, this dance of yearning, this dance of friendship to lovers. And
let's not talk about this being cathartic for me. Okay. This is why this season has me so hooked in.
So keep me on track.
I've been in the longest will they or won't they for anybody to deal with.
But this is the moment where like she absolutely I think she just completes her final transformation. She goes Super Saiyan, she goes full Super Saiyan, she completes her final transformation because she decides to leave. He goes, I will go. And she goes, no, puts her hand up. No, I am in control now. I will leave. I'm in control of my feelings. I'm not going to chase after you anymore. I'm not going to wait around for you anymore. I will go. You will stand here, and you will watch me go. You will watch after me.
Yes.
You will wait after me from now on. You will suffer the pain that I have suffered for multiple seasons / my whole life of knowing you.
I don't think she's vindictive like that.
No. Not that she's doing it on purpose, but this is her finally letting go. And not that she's intending him to, because she does not understand that he's going through this. She's completely oblivious.
Correct.
But in the scripting, this is his moment that he has to go through to understand the pain that she has gone through, watching him on the marriage map, watching him be chased after by multiple women, watching him be his flirty...
Engaged to a woman.
Yes, engaged to a woman. She's had to watch this for season, and even though it's not her intention to make him suffer the way that she has, this was her moment of taking back her power.
Yeah. Well, this is the moment where I think she realized her power because honestly, you got to kind of have those moments where you can't control a situation to just go. You have to let go and you have to, but the thing that she didn't do is she didn't put a question out there to be, asked and answered. She just answered it for herself, which I think is part of their problem. But you led me up to my other facial expression that I think is important because as they're going back and forth in this moment, up until she is turning away to leave, you can tell she sees he's agitated. He's awkward. This is not the normal Colin. Something's up. And she's like, what are you trying to say to me? Like her inner monologue is like, she wants to know why he's acting different, but she's afraid to find out because she's so embarrassed. And so you see her facial expressions. And then when he's like, well, I will go. Well, she realizes, well, that's over. He's not saying anything, right? So she's like, no, I will go. And she turns to go and he's like, Penelope. And if you pause and look at her face, she's like, if the words, I love you and I want you to be my wife do not come out of your mouth right now, why are we having this conversation? Like she's so, you're turning me around. This better be good. You're ruining my exit. This better be good. Like her face is just like, come on, dude. I'm trying to get out of it. She wanted it to be graceful and he's calling her back. And he's like, you better be telling me you love me. If you are not telling me, we're going to box. I will pull up. I will get out my mitts and we will box.
His expression in this moment kind of breaks me a little though, because, he pulls her back and essentially just says, like, he wishes for her to be happy. He just wants her happiness. And she responds by thanking him for all his kindness. And he softens and he's like, this kindness reserved only for you, This
he's like, this isn't kindness. It's because I love you. Like, that's what he's thinking.
They've finally put aside their feelings for a second, where he's actually being vulnerable with her and kind of expressing as a friend. This one I feel like is truly from, I want what's best for her. This is from a friendship point of view, and if that's not me, then I still want you to be happy. And so he wishes for her to be happy. She thanks him for all of his kindness, and he softens, visibly on screen. He gets look in his eye like, I love this girl and I will do anything for her and I will sacrifice myself for her to make her happy. And then she says, if I secure a proposal, it'll be with you. And he's like, visible. He
created the situation where he believes like he's going to lose her because of his own doing. And I see it a little different. Yes, it's friendship, but this is his true moment of true love, where he knows in this moment that he truly loves her, because if she cannot see him in that way, and they're actually having the same moment here because they're both loving each other in such a way, because they believe the other person doesn't reciprocate, that they're willing to let that person go.
Yeah, that was
okay. You're not seeing me this way. I'm going to let you go. I have to let you go. I've got to let you go be happy somewhere else if that's what you need. And first of all, as a girl who reads and as a girl who loves love stories, why in the world did she not recognize the number one line that comes out of a man's mouth when he loves you, but he thinks you want to go after someone else? I only wish for your happiness. Because that is in like every historical...
You can never see it in your own story.
True.
Like, I can be so impartial and I can see so much of other people, but when it comes to myself, I'm completely blindsided because I'm like so deep.
I'm delusional.
I'm delusional along there with you, Patty. I feel like I feed the delusion.
Delusional.
You are my yeast. You are my you're my what do you call it? My sourdough starter.
I'm yeast?
No, you're my sourdough starter, and I feed it every morning. Feed it to keep it going. Keep the delusion.
Well, and I'll tell you, and actually, I'm not say anything to my best friend. I'm going to just put this in here so she knows, like, I'll know if she listens to this, because we had a conversation today, and she's a long hauler. She's been around for a long time, and she's like you happy, but I'm gonna throw you a dose of reality kind of thing, because I'm a very romantic person, and I'm very much in my, I create fairy tales in my head. I write fan fictions about my own life. She says things that are like pragmatic, and she's a very pragmatic person, but she was being pragmatic with me today and kind of like, maybe you shouldn't fly too close to the sun there, Icarus.
And I'm like, here's the wings.
But unlike the long hauler, like, and you're just as romantic of a girly as I am, like, you are
Delulu.
You're analyzing with me, and you're feeding my delusion. And
that's what I said. You're the sourdough starter, and I've got my bread and my water ready to go every morning. Feed the sourdough.
And I'm just gonna say this, because if this is only ever something that lives in my head, I want somebody who lets me live there for a while, because with what I just went through, I deserve it. If I only get a fairy tale that lives in my head, and you can cut this now because I'm crying, but if I only get a fairy tale that I end up creating in my head, it's still so way better than what I lived through.
Okay, Stephen and I are the Edmund and Violet to your Colin and Penelope. Don't choke on your tears there, Patty.
No, I was choking on my tea, not my tears.
But that does not give you permission to call me mummy.
No. But no, actually, I thought today about if there was ever a time that we included our Colin Bridgerton's on the pod, like if it ever got to that point. Like it would be like us, this your situation I see is like if we had communicated better and we had decided to make a go of it, because your personality is very much like mine. Steven's personality is very much like him. And I just like it would be like
we are mirrors of each other, and that's why I'm saying it is the Violet and Ed the Penelope and Colin, because mirror mirror on the wall, who is the most autistic of them all?
There'd be so much neurospicy in just be so
sorry, I had to
be like, okay, if you tangent, if you're a little emotional, if you're this, you're ADHD.
I don't think our boys could handle our tangents, to be honest.
Oh God, no. Knows nothing about Bridgerton.
Steven does, because I've made him watch it, because he knows that he gets to drink the Penelope tea if he watches.
Cheating. That's hilarious though. Payment in kind. That's so funny.
It's very kind.
But he listened to like one of our intros and he's like, you sound the same. I was like, how is I gonna sound different? But yeah, he can't listen and he can't support because he can't let his brain, I don't want to say he can't let his brain will not let him focus on something that he has zero interest
context. In. Yeah, I need context. It's not interest, it's context. Yeah. Like Stephen will try to explain to me things about June, and I'm like, dude, I don't understand, and I cannot participate in a conversation unless I know every single little detail that there is ever to know. And I know that the world of June and the books, that they have a glossary on the back to explain different words and different things in it because of how convoluted it is. I don't need to be delving into that world. I have Bridgerton to focus on, a whole world of Bridgerton of unpacking to do.
Bridgerton, Harry Potter.
When you
there's already too much going on.
When you sent me that TikTok the other day and it was like Bridgerton, Harry Potter, homeschooling, Taylor Swift, like makeup. I was like,
dude, no, it had everything. It had that one singer. It had that one singer on it that you showed me that's like relatively obscure. Like I was like, you need to reach out to her. She says you'll be best friends.
Oh, honestly, like out of the list that was on it, I think I cracked like 90% of the thing. Let's see if I can find it. God, we talk way too much, girl.
This is your true best friend.
Separated at birth.
I just think there's so many of us neurospicy people out there, and we have our special interests. Like I know if I put up a bunch of things, because like I'm all into psychology and I'm into spirituality, like I'm really into learning about a lot of religions. I'm not a specific religion.
And astronomy, not astrology, for anyone out there.
But like here, and I'm gonna take this time, if it's still recording, to tell my dream I had last night, because it was Bridgerton.
Did you
mixed with like a
Queens or regular chat?
I don't remember, but it wasn't that long ago.
No, I know, but I'm scrolling and we talk a lot. It must be in Tangent Queens.
It's got to be in Tangent then. So I had this dream last night that somebody from the future brought back mechanical like little bugs that were programmed to find anyone related to the Bridgerton. And I'm at a ball, and it's me though, like I'm not a Bridgerton, but I'm a Bridgerton somehow, and my ear's itching and I scratch, like I go grab a napkin and I scratch at my ear and I bring it down, and there's these two little bugs, like you can see their legs, but you can feel they're metal. They're not real bugs. They're like metal. They're it's like sci-fi fantasy meets historical. And I remember like I'm trying to figure out this mystery, and it turns out these little mechanical bugs were set to wipe out the Bridgertons because they're so prolific, like 8 kids all having, 3-4 plus children. And then all their kids having kids, all their kids having kids. So somewhere in the future, somebody is mad about this and makes these little spidery bug things, and they get sent back in time to wipe out the original Bridgertons, like the original 8 kids and anyone associated with them. So like this lady that is not Lady Danbury ends up dying because one of these bugs goes in her ear and burrows into her brain or whatever. So I'm there, even though I'm not like necessarily a Bridgerton, but I am a Bridgerton somehow. I don't know how. That was not explained in my dream, but like my job was to save them, kind of like John Connor going back in time in Terminator.
I'm not funny.
So what did I say?
John Connor and Terminator.
Yeah. Yeah.
My brain knows how to multitask.
You heard the last part.
No, you were talking about you being a Bridgerton but not being a Bridgerton and the little bugs.
Yeah.
I'm a multitasker. I have two ears, one for thinking and one for listening.
Yeah.
Just trying to
I
find our
know it
video
was
now.
during I'm trying to scroll now.
So in the meantime, let's finish off this one part. I want to talk about this is I'm pretty sure that this is a voice clip that you sent me months ago, and then I finally listened to it yesterday and I was like, ha ha, I finally get it. It pans out. And as Colin is watching the faint traces of Penelope disappear through the willow tree, as he is left there, alone with a melancholy harmony, the ducks are quacking. It is just like sound effects and ducks quacking. And it
Mm-hmm.
just reminds me of, I'm pretty sure it was you who mentioned about the ducks quacking because you'd been listening to or watching the audio description version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe so.
They are the
And because I think that the whole duck thing
duck
is,
goose, duck,
you know, him saying he's
swan.
there feeding the ducks and he's looking at a swan and she says, well, I'm sure the ducks are grateful. Like everybody assumes that that is about her because she's, you know, people, because of society and the
Yeah.
way people think, they're
Mhm.
assuming she's the ugly duckling and she's going to become a swan. But I think the symbolism of the duck and the ugly duckling is him, and he comes into his, you know, he becomes the swan. And I think that the peacock symbolism, because peacock represents power and quote unquote royal, I think that symbol is for her because of her coming into her power and becoming Lady Whistledown, and like Danbury bowing to her. She is just as influential as the queen in society.
Well, and she's wearing very like like in the episode 8 final scene. It's a very, very uncommon color to see back then. A very powerful
Mm-hmm.
blue. And granted, I'm not particularly fond of that shade of blue for her. I understand the choice of it for the power of it. You know, it's a very peacock kind of.
Yeah.
So, speaking of blue, let's talk about Penelope's dress for this episode. It is that light blue dress with little sleeves, and it goes down into like almost a pink flower petal. And we don't see Penelope in pink. Like once she changes into her final, she wears very exclusively blue, but pink obviously
Yeah.
is often portraying romance, which is very interesting that they always have Cressida wearing pink. But anyway, in
Well,
this part,
and the scenes where Cressida kind of has to do something she doesn't want to do, or she's kind of being pushed by her mother and she's feeling very almost like in a depression or, you know, sad. Her pink is tinged with black. Cressida's is. So they use multiple colors for various reasons. And I think this one is, you know, this dress is very romantic. And even her little scarf that's around her
mhm.
arms is like blue down into a lavenderish, pinkish.
So that was
Um
I would say lavender. That was what I had in my notes. I
yeah,
feel
it was like a purple. And so she's like, this is just very,
so.
this would have been the rom-com dress for the rom-com scene in the rom-com season.
She's got
That's
the
giving all the
chiffon.
vibes of I love you,
Well, she's got
but
the
the
chiffon
purple is
gloves.
like power.
She's got the chiffon, twined through her beautiful little, not a chignon. What do you call that little side cut? It's not quite a braid, but it's side do. She's, so she's got the chiffony ribbons through her hair. She's got it, over her. She's got this beautiful shawl, a chiffony shawl. I love the colors in it.
Mm-hmm.
They are this beautiful cascading of like a blue to a purple, and it just to me screams romance. The flowers is symbolizing of the petals of their love. It's not a fully formed rose yet, but the petals are there, they're forming. And this look, more so than probably any other look, really screams to me like beautiful French romantic lead.
Yeah, and I love that the petals are only at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a dress. I mean, this is the dress she's wearing when Eloise comes to the house too. So I think it kind of gives the vibes of like Beauty and the Beast, where the last petal has fallen.
Yeah.
Because it's a bunch of fallen petals at the bottom of the dress. Like
she's waited for Colin and the petals are falling.
And Eloise, I think in that moment with Eloise, she's like, she thinks the friendship might reform. And I think after the kiss with Eloise showing up, maybe she thinks Colin talked to her. And like, there's this whole moment of Eloise is here. Maybe Eloise is going to help me. Maybe this is all figured out. only that didn't happen, and she's just as sad. And I think that rolls into her conversation with Colin too. Like, how can she tell him she has feelings for him and wants to be with him if her and Eloise are not repairing their friendship? She's not going to hurt Eloise like that. And like, so I think if her and Eloise would have repaired a little bit more, things might have been different too. But like, she is consciously thinking, this friendship is over. I also need to protect my heart because I can't get with the man I love and see my best friend every day being friends with somebody else.
Yeah.
And her dress very much is indicative of that, because it's like it's so layered in.
It's such a romantic dress,
like,
but it's not the only symbolic outfit that's going on. Now, I don't know whether this is just my lighting because I had my phone like dimmed down really low last night. But speaking of that, can Bridgerton sort themselves the F out? I am not blind, but like every single time that I watch Bridgerton, it's almost exclusively on my phone. And I'm like, oh, I have my phone, my phone screen light down low for some reason. Let me just increase the brightness. Only to realize, no, Bridgerton producers just hate me and have filmed everything, even the day scene, in low lighting to make it difficult for me to see anything, and it kills me, and I'm
I think
very passionate about
that's another symbol of the Willow Tree, though, that they're under the Willow Tree, is because like, their feelings are still hidden.
Blown daytime, and it is dim.
And what scene is that?
Under the Willow Tree.
Under the tree? Yeah. It's still in shadow. Hello, shadow and light.
Mm-hmm.
It's still in shadow because their feelings are not revealed.
I know, but like, I'm blind. Help a girl out here. Stop putting everything so dark.
Yeah.
This is not a TV series for the low vision.
Yeah, for visually impaired people, it's not helpful.
Okay, let me just scroll back for a second.
I validate your experience.
Thank you, because like, I'm just a girl trying to be nosy, trying to I spy. No, I'm sure I'm right
trying to see all the things.
Ray is now in yellow. I mean, green dress, but the whole yellow coat. And because Ray is such a instrumental person in the getting together of Colin and Penelope, like, she's walking with Penelope and then she spies Colin and she knows exactly why they are heading to the Willow Tree.
I found it.
Oh, thank you. Can you screenshot the picture? And see, I mean, I'm sure you just sent that to me yesterday and it still took us how long?
Yeah, but there was no picture. It was just the link, and that's why you scrolled past. Hold on. I gotta go to TikTok if this survived.
It is my entire vibe.
It is so your vibe.
17 things on there. Of that 17, 15. So out of 17, I am 15 of those things, and not mildly. Like, I mean, Harry Met Your Mother. I have a Harry Met Your Mother entire group chat. I run Harry Met Your Mother quizzes, gentle parenting,
internal family system is what IFS. Okay. It's the whole thing of people are made up of parts. There are different parts of you, and certain behaviors or certain things you go through is because you are feeling hurt or something in a specific part. So this therapy, when you go through this therapy, you work on these parts until you create or heal your whole self.
Okay, yeah, so the only part then I don't fit was the IFS and the evangelical deconstruction never being
But Megan Harris, if you listen to the podcast and you remember making a TikTok asking for best friends, Tasha's your best friend.
Homeschooling, book girly, autistic, my husband is, scrunchy mum, Swifty, ADHD, generational healing, Bridgerton, Noah Kahan, former teacher, yes, Gilmore Girls, Disney Channel original music. I love the Disney Channel music, and one of my favorites to sing is specifically Rob, what's his name? But he does The Jungle Book, and I absolutely love that cover of it. And then How You Met Your Mother, yeah, psychology, yeah, gentle parenting, respectful parenting, yes, because in doing my teaching degree, you learn about all the different parenting methods, and that is the idea. So, yeah, I absolutely laughed when you sent that because I was like, just call me out.
Yeah, and if you guys become best friends, it was all me.
Look, Patty's sick of me already. She's trying to hustle me off onto other people.
No, I'm just saying there's somebody that is way more, because I would love to be a gentle parent. I grew up Gen X. I'm not a gentle parent. I'm just not. I am working on generational healing.
I don't think I'm a gentle parent 100% of the time. Like, obviously, I've been really, really sick lately, very touched out. My son is an outdoor kid, and he has been inside a lot because of the weather and me being sick. So I get very touched out, but I think it's how you respond, if you do lose it, how you respond and how you through the situation and explain feeling. A lot of that. It's not this dismissive parenting that people think it is, which is very much what Portia somehow balances between being a permissive parent, which is basically where you just let your kids just parent themselves. You don't give them hard consequences. You don't give them hard boundaries. You're just like, oh, well, they'll just be in, like, it'll all turn out fine. She'll be right, mate. Like, she has no idea what Penelope is, even at this point.
She is an emotionally neglectful parent.
Which is
like
permissive.
I
in the four
my
parenting
parents
types.
were not my parents were not permissive, but they had no damned idea where I was. They didn't care. The less you bothered them, the less of a burden you were.
Yeah,
and people can call me out.
If you look in the psychology textbooks, it is well, neglectful, but also permissive.
My parents were authoritative. They wanted complete compliance.
Yeah.
You had to comply to all of their rules. And, I very much love my parents, but I've done a lot of work in the last 7-8 years. My mom was still alive when I started. I really dived deep after she passed and understood her as a human and how she contributed. But I would say authoritative / neglectful, because they were not taught how to parent by their parents, because their parents were silent generation was kind of selfish. The silent generation was born, my grandparents were born, like they were 7-8 years old when the Depression occurred, and they were working.
Yeah.
They had to work for the family at 7-8 years old. And so they indulged their kids, but they were kind of selfish themselves, because as they grew up and they started having money, they just wanted to do what they wanted to do when they wanted to do it. And I think that we skipped into boomers, and boomers were indulgent, the indulged generation, by their parents that had to work real hard. So then they created Gen X, and Gen X is the same way. We were chored up at very young ages. People now want to say there's no way you babysat at such a young age. Girlfriend, my first babysitting job, I was 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah.
But there are people out there like, there's no way they would have an 11-year-old in charge of other kids.
If you do not know how to save my child's life, I mean, to be fair, the extent of who's allowed to watch my child extends as far as my parents and no one else. But like, I was thinking about that too, like how I would babysit children, and I was like 10 years old, and people would just trust. I mean, granted, it wasn't like overnight or anything like that, but like, that is wild to me. I don't know how to do CPR. If your kid is choking, I don't know how to save them. Like,
the best I could do is call 911. But I was my first chores, like I was doing dishes between 5 and 8 years old. And I was cooking once a week for my family at 8 years old, cooking a whole meal for 6 kids, 2 parents, and anyone they invited over. I only know how to make things in big batches, like goulash, spaghetti, chili. Like, these were the things I learned because it fed a crowd. And we were taught that how we performed and how we took away burdens from our parents was how we earned love and stuff like that, how we earned admiration, whatever. So we now, Generation X, most of us are the same way in our jobs today. And you see a lot of us now, because now we are making our own money and we're making our own rules, and we all have these special interests, and they're very childlike. And no one that sits down with me where I don't mention my age ever guesses I'm 48. Ever. I will always be a child at heart, because when I was a child, I was not a child.
I very much loved Peter Pan, and I know that Peter Pan syndrome is used to describe men who refuse to grow up, but I kind of take it from a different perspective of Peter Pan. Why should we grow up? Not when it comes to responsibility, but why should I stop loving Harry Potter? Why should I stop loving the music that I loved as a child in the Disney song? Why should I not have a passion for Bridgerton? Why should I not have interest and loves? What is it about that is so offending to you? And I think they grew up in a generation that went through some really, really hard transitions where everything that you did was in service of feeding your family, of bettering your family life, of providing. And so to have interests and hobbies was wasteful to them. But I refuse to see that.
Honestly, happiness. in society is so judgmental, and your worth once you become a parent is on how behaved your child is in public, and what people perceive as behaved is compliant. Are they quiet? I used to get told all the time,
not
like my mother. Yeah, children should be seen and not heard. My mom was told all the time about me. I was a very quiet child, very introverted, very shy around people. I would not open up unless I felt safe. And people would be like, "Oh, she's so well behaved. She's so quiet. I didn't even know she was there, blah, 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 blah."
Yeah.
And I remember all of that. And then I wanted to have friends that were girls in fifth grade, specifically fifth grade. I only had friends that were boys. And we're getting to that age where it's, things are changing and you start feeling like maybe I'm weird because all of my friends are boys. So I'm like, I want to make friends that are girls. I decided I was going to be a cheerleader because that's what the girls did. And did I become friends with any of those girls? No. But I mean, kind of, but not really. Not like those, none of those became close friendships for me. But I did gain a little confidence. I gained my loud, gregarious self. I realized that in some situations that's pretty great. And my mom struggled with it. I heard so much about why can't I go back to being the quiet child? She didn't have to worry about the quiet child that didn't embarrass her in public.
I don't want Ezra to be quiet. I want him to be respectful, but authentically himself.
Well, and every time Cameron would leave the house, ever since he moved in with me, I would always say two things. I would say, be good, be respectful. And I don't mean be good as in be compliant. I just mean like be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
To be good, be kind, be respectful. Like as long as you're respectful to people, they'll be respectful to you. You won't get into trouble because he does struggle with communication and understanding cues and all of that stuff. So I was like, be good, be respectful. Just remember those two things and you can't go wrong.
Yeah. We have strayed so far from the tangent that I don't think we can even gallop back. I think we need to be in a full-blown run. Like, I think we need to catch an aeroplane back to the point at this point. I don't think horses will do the job.
Get me on that racehorse that won in season 2. Maybe we can do it. But, well, and if we come back, like a lot of this scene, honestly, is the two of them and how they were brought up and how they were. I find it interesting that both of them feel the most comfortable with each other. Both of them feel seen by each other where they don't feel seen by their families, except in for some reason in this moment. And then in season 2 at that soiree, like I think Penelope was really feeling seen by him with their exchanging of letters. And she's like, oh, he gets me, blah, blah, blah. And then she tries to have that conversation. Like she thought that was their turning point moment. And after the kiss, he thought this was their turning point moment. Although I think he thought they had their moment in season 2. I think here is where he's like, there is no question. This has to be a thing. Like, she's got to know. And, but I just, again, have to.
I'm just, okay, recording.
So, in conclusion, since I reminded myself as I was scrolling to find that TikTok, which by the way, how awesome does that make me that I am so secure in a friendship that I'm like, you need to be friends with this person, first of all. Second, I remembered I wanted to use that word. It's an old school word that isn't used anymore. Consult. We definitely consulted today because we were all over the place. So as we consult about the Willow Tree scene next year, when Bridgerton is nominated for an Emmy and Luke Newton and Nicola Coughlan are nominated for Emmys for their performances, I want this scene to be the scene that is aired. Like if they do, like, you know how at award shows, they show a scene to show you their work in that particular thing. This scene needs to be the one that plays because it is, and it won't be because most of the time, like, especially in America, they're going
to play the carriage declaration.
Well, they can't play parts of the carriage scene.
No, I said the declaration.
Yeah. But I think this one displays their actual talent and timing and how well they analyze a scene together, how well like they work with another actor in a scene. This needs to be on whatever they submit for any future role ever because this scene was so perfect. They even had chemistry. Like when you think of chemistry, you think of like the yearning and the electricity.
You think of Jonathan Bailey sniffing after Jonathan Bailey. Wait, let me rephrase. Anthony sniffing after Kate.
Right. But you think of the scenes that have that will they, won't they, the really electrically charged, I And you can feel that here. The chemistry's still there, even though it is played rom-com, it is played
Slow
very
burn.
much comedically. Like the fact that he is keeping his distance and he's still leaning forward, like he doesn't trust himself in her space. He doesn't trust what he would do.
Well,
And you can feel
we
that.
can
And
see
then
that too,
knowing,
because in the next scenes when they're at the balloon day, he
yes,
is, because now she has said we must keep our distance. Now
and
that he
he's
has
been
that
away from
barrier,
her for a
he
bit.
can't. He
Yeah.
needs to be in her gravitational pull. He is
Yes.
pulled towards
Because he
her.
has been without her. He has been watching her from across the room and
The
he
moon
is
phases.
hungry.
The
He
moon
is
phases. He is pulling.
hungry.
The willow tree waxes and wanes with the water, with the
Mm-hmm.
moon. It's pulled in.
He is got to be close to her while he can. And that for me, that's the hand thing throughout the whole season. Like when you watch him take her hand, he is getting energy from her. And he even says at the end, like, I just want to soak up a little bit of your light. Like
Yeah.
and it sounds terrible to say he feeds off of her, but
She is sunshine and he is the moon, because the moon
oh my
reflects the
God,
sunshine's
my
light.
song. Okay, when is this airing? Because my Broadway song of the day is going to be Sun and Moon from Miss Saigon. I love that song.
And that works
I
perfectly,
love
because
that
if
song.
he's the moon and she is the willow tree, then his gravitational pull affects her as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so happy with this little symbolism. I love when these just
And
happen authentic.
and
When it
that's
happens
and that's light and
authentically,
shadow.
when it happens authentically on air, it makes me so happy when we come to these conclusions, because this plays in perfectly to everything.
Yes.
I think I'm actually going to have to cut this part, and not cut. I mean, like, cut this part in the video and add it into like a thing
Like
to
a
put on,
TikTok.
like a TikTok, or put it on Insta. I think we should actually start. I need to start putting like little snippets of our episodes as well.
Yeah, and keep the video.
I
I
have
think
all
we're
I
good.
have all the videos. I just don't post them, and I just wish that my room was a little bit tidier. It's a bit chaotic at the moment, but it's fine.
Well,
But
turn on your background.
I know, let me just recreate that moment. No. I
Mm-mm.
think this plays into the whole theming of the
And I'm
season
saying
so
you don't
well.
even know. Yeah, and you don't even know how my body right now is physically in pain because I just want to start singing Sunlight, Sun and Moon from Miss Saigon. Mm.
And I wish that they had more songs that played into the sunlight moon kind of, or goddess. It's like, I know that they want to stay very on trend, songs that are on trend right now, but
Well, and that's like as we were talking in the music episode, and we didn't get to that part because we talked about the timing of some of the songs. Like, did we really need
Dancing in the
and we
Moonlight.
talked through yeah, did we really need Snow on the Beach where he gets out of the carriage and walks in? That was a very short. Why didn't we have background music under the willow tree?
Yeah, because actually, that was one of the things. I don't know if it was, is that the music that's playing in the willow under the willow tree as Penelope's walking out and the ducks are quacking, the melancholy kind of tune. I can't remember if it was that scene or another one that I've specifically put notes on. It might be later on, but I need to find, it's the same song that plays in season 1 when Daphne and Simon are dancing, but I don't think it was that scene. I think there's another scene, a Polin-centric scene, but it's the same, not song, but the same musical. It's a very twilly, upbeat kind of, but high intensity song. I'm gonna have to go through my notes and find where it is. But let's look at Dancing in the Moonlight kind of lyrics.
Well, that's important. Then, if it was a song from season 1, then we got to know what reference.
Get it on most every night. Yes, please. This can be their song for season 4. We get it on almost every night when the moon is big and bright. It's a supernatural delight. Everybody's dancing in the moonlight.
Oh yeah, Dancing in the Moonlight's a good one.
Could I please?
That needs to be a Featherington Garden after the baby's asleep song.
Everybody's feeling warm and bright, fine and natural. I vibing so hard. Please, please. Not that it's pollen season next, but like.
So I'm not gonna sing it, but you are sunlight and I moon, joined by the gods of fortune, midnight and high noon, sharing the sky. We have been blessed, you and I. You are here like a mystery. I'm from a world that's so different from all that you are. How in the light of one night did we come so far? Outside day starts to dawn. Your moon still floats on high. The birds awake. The stars shine too. My hands still shake. I reach for you. We meet in the sky.
Okay, that is fiction, you need to put that on your list to make sure it drops next Sunday. So it drops next Sunday. So that is 27th.
Okay, so the 26th for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because, and I could sing it right now. That is literally a song, like when Miss Saigon comes on, that is a song I have to sing. I have to sing it. It is so beautiful.
I've never heard of it before. And I think that fits in so beautifully. It's perfect. So yeah, I think you and I will go away and we're going to throw this whole moon symbolism and sun symbolism thing and probably dig into it a little bit more.
Well, because when we're done with episode 4, aren't we doing a themes episode? Yeah, so we're going to have to put a pin in sun and moon and really look at that as symbolism along with, because that plays into shadow and light. And I know the shadow and light thing is the secrets versus the truth and their shadow selves versus their authentic selves. And when their feelings are revealed compared to when their feelings are in secret.
Yeah.
But I think the sun and moon and, them as the sun and moon is because honestly, if you think of the sun and moon, it's both are in relation to the earth and, work in tandem with each other because the moon is just rock. It reflects the sun's light.
Mm-hmm. I just
so
want to
Colin being
the
moon
bit of your light.
Mm-hmm. And it with the theme of mirrors reflecting the light.
It fits in
he
so
reflects her light.
I'm proud of my genius there. I can go on and be stupid for the rest of the week now because I've had my epiphany. My one epiphany moment.
And in my basketball reference, I came in with the assist, whatever my ADHD brain said.
We're a good team.
Like, I like when it works that way.
I know. We're a good team. For today, gentle listeners, we will leave it there and continue on next week's episode where we will talk Stowell House and then eventually get on to the balloon event as well as followed by the Hawken Innovations Ball.
I call that the yearning ball.
I can't promise. I can't promise how much we're going to get through in any one episode at this point. I think honestly we have a realistic expectation of getting through one thing per episode at this point.
We're getting to more significant Polin scenes. So there's just so much that we have.
Yeah.
That is important to say. So
and we don't want to overlook anything.
It's a scene breakdown.
This podcast is not a light, just I like Penelope and Cullen. I think they're so. This is not that kind of podcast. This is not where we just like.
This is straight up Delulu, guys. Lulu.
I mean, I am the researcher of toilet gravy boats and peeing behind screens and 2 a.m. Googling of Willow.
And I am words matter, scripting matters, actor choices matter.
Like yes. I think we're a perfect team. If you have anything in particular you would like us to cover, anything more than our Delulu brains have already covered, if you can think of anything else, props to you, or any Bridgerton knowledge you would like to share, please head to our Facebook page, The Ladies Bridgerton. And if you're enjoying our podcast, please remember to click follow on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you are listening. Once again, thank you for listening to the musings of two mad women. Yours truly, Harsh the Kiwi.
And Lady Patty.